Grim bloke. Yeah. And then, yeah, bruv. Yeah. You bruv. In it. Grim bloke. Let me tell you about this one time. I went through a porthole and snuck into the North Pole and got picked up in a Hyperborean DeLorean. They said they knew I was a Webster Merriam historian, master the numerical Gregorian, the hysterical mystic, no more than a Pythagoreans, conspiracy theory Ethereum, in the etheric fear realm. I thought they were gonna take me to the crematorium in their Hyperborean DeLorean. Tested me on my Sumerian, Shakespearean, knew I was a numerical vegetarian, Aquarian, that I knew about the Tartarians, barbarians, Mars radium, aliens. Salt of the earth, solution Selenian. Spent the night in the Hyperborean chamber. I looked around and thought, bruv, who hired the painter? Hyperborean memoriam, auditorium, all cause I got picked up in the Hyperborean DeLorean.
Welcome back, ballers.
All love. Jack Ruff. Yeah. Invisible diamond minerals, crystalline and swimming pools, interdimensional realms of scrapping Catherine, Bahamas, Azores, Atlantis shores, mountains, temples, marble floors, seafloors, treasure and cities lost. Yeah, bruv, in it. Oh, sphinxes, pyramids and minotaurs, fruit grown in grove luxuriant. In it. Inhabitants intelligent, closest seen to perfection. The whole experience.
Can you guys hear me okay?
To them, polar aurora, horizon beyond them. Flats and sky, lake of fire, core and flora, but bright comets, tornadoes, turbulence, not prohibition, more. Not forbidden, thought expansive, places massive. In it. Yeah, bruv. In it. Oh. Just hanging around. Yeah. Telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Grim bloke. Jack Bruff.
I can get a thumbs up in the chat to make sure you guys can hear me okay. We'll get started.
Just hanging around. Oh, Jack Bruff. 88892. If you didn't know, now you're forever exploring an interdimensional historian. Just hanging around telling stories in the Hyperborean DeLorean. Just hanging around. Jack Bruff. Grim bloke. Hey.
Welcome back, ballers. Sometimes no news is good news. I haven't seen any thumbs up in the chat yet, just to make sure that you guys can hear me. So I am going to make the assumption that you guys can. Thank you guys for tuning in. Happy Tuesday. Thank you guys for joining me. Today's presentation called The King of Queens. Hopefully you guys appreciate the thumbnail. I thought it was funny. But we are going to recap the very blatant Queen Elizabeth ritual that went down in last night's Monday Night Football game. I'm going to shout out my boy TJ. Him and I did a live stream last night, and he sent me this song called Burv Jack that he made. It is his own song. I actually did not ask for your permission, TJ, to use that for the intro, so I apologize. But yeah, we were banging out hard on that song last night. I thought it was a good one to open up tonight's show, or today's show rather. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll jump right into it. I try to keep these streams as short and sweet as possible, but we got a lot to go through, so we'll dive right into it. For those that don't know, the Vikings had a comeback victory last night against the Bears on Queen Elizabeth's 3-year death anniversary. I wanted to share this thumbnail really quick. I was debating having this one be the thumbnail, but ChatGPT can be funny sometimes. So sure enough, Queen Elizabeth rocking the football runs away with the victory. Don't forget that the Vikings have the color of royalty. And so sure enough, diving into the numbers and some of the research here, the first thing that stood out to me was Vikings equals 98, right? And the game was played on September 8th, the date written 9/8. And once again, purple and gold is the color of royalty. So right off the bat, it made a lot of sense just thinking about the color symbolism and the simple basics of gematria, the reverse ordinal cipher. A is 26, back to Z is 1, Vikings equals 98. The game was played on 9/8. And we're going to touch on that 98 a bit in a minute. But first, I'm going to shout out my patrons. We had a lot of fun last night. I'll be honest, I did take the Bears. I was kind of succumbing into the pressure where the public was all over the Vikings, but the truth community really was on the Bears. And I respect that. I mean, as you guys know, there's riddles for both sides, but shame on me. There was something about the Vikings that, Vikings on the Queen's death anniversary. I thought it was that simple, but shame on me. I decided to go with the Bears, but I did advise my patrons to also take the Bears on the spread, take them at +3.5. And sure enough, they were able to cover that spread. But the real victories were in the prop picks last night, starting with J.J. McCarthy. A lot of people thought he was going to have a bad game since he's coming off of a season-ending leg injury last year. So last night's game was technically his NFL debut. And what are the odds that he just so happens to be from Chicago, playing against his team that he grew up admiring, etc. But let's dive into the numbers for a second. So J.J. McCarthy, he plays for Minnesota, right? Well, you measure from last night's game on September 8th, that 98, back to the founding date of Minnesota. It's exactly 120 days. Well, that 120 was screaming at me for a number of reasons. JJ stands for Jonathan James McCarthy. His full name equals 120 in the reverse Pythagorean cipher. And when you look at the ordinal ciphers front and back, rushing TD equals 120, and so does touchdown in reverse. So 120 days after Minnesota's founding date, Jonathan James McCarthy, which equals 120, scores a rushing touchdown, which equals 120, or a touchdown, which equals 120. So it started there. So all of these images, by the way, as I always say, these are shared on the Patreon before the game, just so people can kind of see what I'm looking at and what's standing out to me. So just showing you guys, yep, J.J. McCarthy was a Chicago Bears fan growing up. He just defeated the Bears last night in Chicago, his hometown. He's from LaGrange Park, which is a suburb of Chicago. What are the odds? It almost makes me think that he had that whole leg injury for this specific game, going back to over a year ago now. On top of that, notice that when he scored the 26th points for the Vikings of the game, where Queen Elizabeth was born in the year 26, Queen equals 26, and it was on 26 date numerology. Playing for the Vikings. See what I'm saying? Kings and queens, baby. So now we're going to segue over to my favorite play of the night, which was Rome Odunze. And shortly after J.J. McCarthy scored his touchdown, here comes Rome. Hello, Maggie. Hello, BalllDontLie. Good to see you guys. BalllDontLie says Queen. Oh, okay. We got Queen Latifah in the house now. It reminds me of that movie, Bringing Down the House. Did you guys ever see that back in the day with Queen Latifah? Oh, my God. Queen Latifah was in the movie Chicago. Oh, shit. The play Chicago premiered on 12/30. The last win by the Vikings over the Bears. The score was 12. Oh, my God, man. BalllDontLie, that's huge because there's a lot that Myron, He Got Game, has been talking about with this being a huge year for King James once the NBA season rolls around. And we're going to touch a little bit on why Rome is connected to Rome Odunze is connected to King James. But that matters because King James was born on December 30th, right? And that's also the same day that the old Forum where the Lakers used to play before they played into Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena. That's a big addition, BalllDontLie. Thank you for sharing. Oh my goodness. So back to Rome Odunze for a second. What are the odds that the surname Odunze means king's ivory? I did not find this on my own. I already liked Rome for other reasons we'll get into, but shout out to Ricky. She liked Odunze already when we started talking, and she pointed out this fact here that Odunze means king's ivory in Nigerian. So here's Rome scoring a touchdown against the Vikings, and his last name literally means king, right? So there's that, and there's a big tie-in with the Roman Colosseum because Soldier Field, the architecture of the original field, is based off of Roman architecture, and I'll share that with you guys in a minute. But a big thing here is that the new king, Charles, right after Queen Elizabeth died 3 years ago to the day from yesterday, King Charles and Queen Camilla visited the Roman Colosseum this year, back on April 8th, the 98th day of the year. And tonight's game was being played on the 98th day of Rome Odunze's age. Are you kidding me? This image here really quick is just to show you on the right side is that Roman architecture. You guys can see this is from the original stadium before they ended up modernizing the stadium. I didn't look into exactly when they renovated things, but look at the new versus the old kind of thing. But you guys can see here that Soldier Field is related to the Roman Colosseum because of its neoclassical design that pays direct homage to the ancient Roman architecture. So on the left here, you guys will see the original stadium. I'm blanking at the moment what Soldier Field was originally called, but you guys can see here the Roman architecture here on the outside, and they've retained the outside, at least some of it, mainly this part over here. And then you guys can see on the back, which is now completely covered by the new arena. But you guys can see right here, just on the outside. So they kept that Roman architecture on the outside of Soldier Field. Just another image to show you guys how you have these big Roman pillars right out front of Soldier Field. And sure enough, Rome, in the first game of this year's season on the death anniversary of Queen Elizabeth, Rome scores a touchdown as well. This is just showing you guys the date duration from Rome Odunze's birthday. You can see here it was the 98th day of his age. And the game was played on September 8th, the date written 9/8, right? And like I mentioned earlier, King Charles and Queen Camilla visited the Roman Colosseum in Italy back on April 8th of this year, which is the 98th day of the year. Perfect. A couple other tidbits here. I don't think it's a coincidence that in this matchup, of course, Ben Johnson, the new coach of the Chicago Bears, he just so happens to have the same birthday as the founding date of Minnesota. We were just talking about that in relation to J.J. McCarthy. Another piece here, just notice that the city of Minneapolis was founded on February 28th. And that's the date written 2/28, and Queen Elizabeth in the reverse cipher equals 228. Another perfect alignment. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Yeah, haven't seen you in a minute on these live streams. It is kind of spontaneous outside of, eye to eye or hanging loose on the news with TJ. So appreciate you joining. Oh, wow, Maggie. Whoa, I didn't catch that one. Shame on me. I should have. So add a fourth layer to the 98 sandwich. Yesterday was 98 days from the anniversary of the Queen's coronation. That's oh my God. Wow. Great addition, Maggie. Thank you for that one. So back to JJ McCarthy, another reason why I thought he was so interesting for tonight's game is because there was one time in history when Queen Elizabeth actually visited Chicago, and it was by boat. And so she visited Chicago once back on July 6th, 1959, arriving by boat on Lake Michigan. Okay. Lake Michigan, that's really important. As part of a tour of Canada and the United States after opening the St. Lawrence Seaway. It was a 13 to 14-hour visit and included a parade down Michigan Avenue. So so she arrives by boat off of Lake Michigan, and then there's a big parade where she goes down Michigan Avenue. Well, why does that matter in relation to JJ McCarthy? Well, he's from Chicago, and he went to Michigan. Now he's playing for the Vikings, playing against his hometown on the death anniversary of the king or the queen, kings and queens. You guys see that? Unreal. I didn't see anybody talking about this leading up to this game too, by the way. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here, but just being honest. Notice too that for those that aren't familiar with Chicago, if you guys go back and just look up on YouTube when the Queen arrived in Chicago, she arrives by boat off of Lake Michigan, and then there's a big kind of runway, if you will, for her to walk up and visit the Buckingham Fountain. The Buckingham Fountain. That's interesting because Buckingham Palace is the headquarters for English royalty. Talk about airtight. Here's another photo here of Queen Elizabeth and the Buckingham Fountain in the background when she visited back in 1959. Don't forget, you guys, that Queen equals 62 and 26, and last night's game was played on 62 and 26 date numerology. Oh, wow. Maggie is on fire right now. July 6th, huh? July 6th, the date that Queen Elizabeth visited Chicago back in the day. July 6th, Ozzy died at 76 years old. July 6th, written 7-6, and he proposed to Sharon in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Oh, my God, man. Maggie, you are on it right now. Thank you. What else we got? So then I started looking at the founding date of the state of Michigan. I've touched on this in several other videos, but it's January 26th, the same date that Kobe died. Don't forget, we're in the year of the snake. All that kind of stuff. But look at this. You measure from Queen Elizabeth's birthday to last night's game, and you do that same measurement from the founding date of Michigan, you get exactly 140 days. So you measure it from the founding date of Michigan and the birthday of the Queen. Perfect alignment. Like you measure it either way, you're going to get the exact same date duration, not one day to spare. Like I mentioned earlier, I will humbly say I was riding with the Bears, but ultimately I was. But there were a lot of things I was saying about why I like the Vikings. And this is just one example where it just seemed pretty perfect here, where with a loss in Illinois, which equals 45, against Minnesota, which equals 38, the Bears would drop to 38 and 45, which is what happened, right? So we have that one. And for me, the kind of mic drop, once again, I'm kicking myself because sometimes you got to go against the grain. I mean, you got to assess what the public's looking at, how much money's on the game, and then also lean on your peers, people in the truth community like us, about who they like. And, I went with the consensus of the truth community. No flack on them. I mean, I trust them, right? But, we're not perfect. But look at this, you guys. Kevin McConnell, right? Kevin O'Connell. He, in his 52nd regular season game, he picked up his 35th win with Minnesota, which matters because Minnesota equals 52 and Chicago equals 35. Anytime you see 35s in Chicago, man, I can't believe I faded that one. But don't forget, too, that Chicago was founded on March 4th, which is the date written 3/4, right? So that's always something to keep in mind when you see that 34 and the 35. That's where it can get a little challenging. But once again, 52nd regular season game for the head coach of Minnesota, picks up his 35th win doing so against Chicago in Chicago. And here was the other one. I mean, the Bears had a record of 4-0 on September 8th all time, which was yesterday's date, at home. And they also had a record of 5-1 on September 8th at all time, home and away. So King equals 41. The Bears dropped to 4-1 on September 8th at home all time on the death anniversary of Queen Elizabeth. And the Bears also dropped to 5-2 on September 8th all time, losing to Minnesota, which equals 52 on the 52nd regular season game of Minnesota's head coach, right? And that's it, you guys. That's all I had to recap. Once again, shout out JJ McCarthy, shout out Rome Odunze, however you pronounce it. But both of them were clearly intertwined with this riddle with regards to the Queen. Thank you, Maggie, for those contributions. BalllDontLie's throwing in another 1230 example. Ben Johnson, the sprinter who won gold in 1988. There's your 88s again. In the 1988 Olympics and was then disqualified. His birthday is 1230 as well. Oh my God, Ben Johnson, the new coach of the Bears. Dude, you got to be kidding me, man. You guys humble me. I always feel like I'm coming with some fire, and then all you guys in the chat just really ramp it up. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, BalllDontLie. Thank you, Maggie. Lisa, it was good to see you. Shiloh, good to see you as well. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Okay, so we're at the 22-minute mark. Good to go. Make sure you guys tune in for tonight's Eye to Eye. You guys, with Rambo and Cody, this one's going to be huge. I don't even know how long it's going to go, but this is a crazy one. Cody's been all over the frequency alignments with what happened on 9/4. I've been talking about the Hawk Tua shit that went down on 9/4. Yeah, BalllDontLie. Yep, I'm looking forward to with Rambo later. I haven't had a chance to talk to him the last few days, but he's always got fire lined up for us. So we all got plenty to share in tonight's stream. It's going to be a good one, you guys. Trust me. Yay, Tuesday night, best night of the week, I always say. So please make sure to hit that like and sub as always. For those that are interested in getting ahead of these kind of sports games, NFL does seem to be kind of my bread and butter. And, if you guys are ever looking for those notes, they're always on the Patreon, and the link is in the description. So thank you guys so much once again for tuning in, and I will see you guys in a few hours. Until next time, peace.